May Allah heal you from whatever pain you are suffering from. May Allah heal you from whatever pain you are suffering from.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen Amma ba'd fa'a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulallah wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Nabiyallah wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Nurallah. Dear viewers and listeners of Madani Channel, welcome to another inspiring episode on this silsila, Spiritual Cures. And wherever you are in the world, we hope that you and your family are safe and sound. When you make dua, then remember the ummah in your duas. Because in some part of the world, the ummah is going through many different trials and tribulations. Many ailments and sicknesses are there. So make dua to Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal for the sake of the beloved Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that He grants relief to the ummah, shifa and cure to those who are sick and suffering, and protection against the oppressors. Well, today as well, we have some calls that will be played, and pay attention. Perhaps you will be going through, or you are experiencing some of these problems that are going to be discussed. It's handy to have a notebook or a diary so you can quickly jot down the important Madani pearls of advices and the litanies, the invocations, the wadha'if as well. And you can use that book as a reference book. Or perhaps you may know somebody who is experiencing those problems, and by sharing with them, Subhanallah Azza wa Jal, they may just get relief. Let's make some good intentions. As the beautiful narration, the blessed hadith mentions, Niyatul mu'mini khayrum min amalihi. The intention of a believer is better than his action. So let's make some good intentions right now that, oh Allah Azza wa Jal, I am watching, I am listening to the silsila for your pleasure and happiness, for the pleasure of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. What I learn, I will try to practice, or at least I will try to share with others, insha'Allahu Azza wa Jal. There's so many wonderful blessings for reciting Salat ala Nabi Durood Pak. Take for example, the person who recites Durood Sharif 1,000 times every day, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has stated that this person will not die until he sees his place in Jannah. Each one of us will want that grand opportunity, that great fortune. But Jannah is not cheap. We have to work for it by doing good deeds. Good deeds for the pleasure of Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, not to please the people. And so every day of our lives, we need to dedicate some time, take out some time and recite the glorious Quran. With translation from Kanzul Iman, recite Salawat and Durood Pak. Your aim, your target should be a minimum of 313 times every day. Recite istighfar, make sincere tawbah, make dhikrullah, seek knowledge of deen from authentic sources and scholars. Do your best to be punctual with your salahs and perform them properly. Abstain from sins, practice the sunnah, fulfill rights of others, love and respect your parents, your spouse, your children, your siblings, and obey Allah and His Rasul Azza wa Jalla wa Sallallahu Alaihi wa Sallam. These things will benefit us in dunya, in qabr, in akhirah, in both worlds, inshallah ta'ala. There's something else that we need to develop, and that is our patience, our endurance, our tolerance, our ability to bear difficulties, because this world is not paradise. It's a prison for the believer. We have our restrictions. And this world is full of different types of calamities, of problems. Some are experiencing minor ones, some major. Chronic diseases. We have to develop that ability to bear problems and troubles. That will help us to endure. by observing patience, in fact, patiently persevering and moving forward, despite the pains that I have, whatever type of pain it is, because my focus is on in the hereafter. When I leave this dunya, then all the worldly problems dissolve, they disappear. But the real problem will begin if I did not prepare adequately for the grave, for comfort in the grave and for salvation on the Day of Judgment. Let's have the first call for this evening. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam.
MashaAllah, always a beautiful program, The Spiritual Cures, with our beloved ulama sharing their pearls of wisdom and sharing knowledge with us. Alhamdulillahi Azza wa Jal. May Allah Azza wa Jal bless our ulama always to continue spreading the knowledge of deen to the ummah. My question for today is, how do I sufficiently prepare for the grave? Jazakallah.
Ameen wa iyaakum. Subhanallah Azza wa Jal. We were just talking about making adequate preparations for the grave. I mean, that is our final destination in this dunya. Some people don't like when you talk about al-maut, death. They feel maybe scared. Some people say that don't talk about death. Talk about life, because we are alive. Our ulama ikram are always talking about life. When they are talking about Sunnah, what are they talking about? When they're talking about develop your taqwa, your piety, perform your salah properly, fulfill rights, what are they talking about? That's life. But one of the ways to sufficiently prepare to the best of your ability for what is imminent, what is going to approach every single person, that is al-maut, that is death. And one way is to remember death often, to use it to motivate you to stay away from sinning and to do good deeds properly for the pleasure of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'll give you my personal account. I had the grand privilege when I was staying in Pakistan of visiting with other Islamic brothers the blessed home of Amir Ahl Sunnah Damat Barakatum Aliyah. And as we're sitting there and listening to his Madani pearls, my eyes wandered a little bit and I saw on the walls of that room, the cupboard at the top, in different places, was written in Arabic, Al-Maut, the death, the death, the death. This is a way of reminding ourselves and remembering that when you enter such a room, your eyes are going to fall on one of those walls or cupboards and you're going to see written there, Al-Maut, death. It is stalking us. The grave remembers us though we have forgotten. Look, we know we're going to leave. We're not here permanently, we know that. But we forget, we get so caught up in our work, family, recreational activities, we get caught up in this life that honestly ask yourself, I need to ask myself as well, how many times today did I remember death? I'll be lucky, maybe one time, I'll be lucky. How many times? It's mentioned that whoever remembers death 20 times in a day, he will be raised alongside the shuhada, the martyrs on the Day of Judgment. Subhanallah. 20 times a day. So you need to create those facilities and reminders to remind you that one day I'm going to be gone. It reminds me of a narration of Imam al-Ghazali rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi. He states in Ihya al-Ulum al-Din, his magnum opus, his masterpiece, And he mentions a narration there that once there was a king, and the king was lucky because he had a very wise advisor. So whenever the king would get extremely angry, the advisor would just show him a piece of paper. The king would look at it, read it, and instantly he would calm down. So what was written on the piece of paper? O king, have mercy on the poor people, because one day you are going to die. So when the king used to read that to himself, he used to calm down, because he understood, if I oppress these people, if I infringe and violate their rights, what's going to happen to me? So that was his reminder. So we need to remind ourselves. In fact, we need to remind each other. Again, some people don't like to hear about death, but lucky is the one. You heard the narration, 20 times a day, if you remember death, then that person will be raised alongside the martyrs on the Day of Judgment. Who doesn't want that? That is part of preparation for the grave. Because in the grave, if you have comfort and ease, then inshallah ta'ala the same will be on the Day of Judgment. And the opposite is true as well. Another thing is, don't be deceived by the attractions and distractions of this world. Shaitan, Iblis, the cursed and humiliated one, he embellishes evils. He decorates it. And primarily we see this in the entertainment industries out there. Shaitan is the CEO. And this is his marketing machine. And to also distract us, to divert our attention. Primarily from what? From fulfilling your purpose. So prepare well for what is about to come sooner than we realize. In fact, just an hour or two ago, one of our brothers from here, from Durban, Sufi Nagar, his mother passed away. And so he was advised several things. For example, for the coffin, when the coffin is being put for his mother, Allah Azza wa Jal grant her maghfirah and Jannatul Firdaus. And grant her a place in Jannatul Firdaus close to Lady Fatimatu Zahra radiallahu anha. Close to Lady Aisha Siddiqa radiallahu anha, Lady Amina radiallahu anha, Lady Khadija radiallahu anha, and the Ummahatul Mu'mineen as well. So he was advised that on the coffin there's certain things to be written with the Shahada finger. I will advise you, download the book or get the hard copy from Maktabatul Madina, which is our publications department and bookshop, called Madani Will, written by His Eminence Amir Ahl Sunnah Tamad Barakatum Al-Aliyya, a Kamil Wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a great scholar of Islam that is followed by millions around the globe. Get that book. It's a short book, not too many pages. Read it. And make your wasiyah, make your will. And there he mentions what to write with your shahada finger on the coffin of the mayyit. And where to write it. For example, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim on the forehead. And then As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulullah, and other things as well. And then for the grave itself, what is to be placed inside the qabr for the benefit of the deceased. So how lucky is that person that the family members know about this? Because when you're gone, you tasted death, you can't advise anybody now, hey, please do this, please do this, please do this. Please call out the adhan by my graveside. Please do talqeen for me. Please put this in my qabr. Beforehand, you need to do all of these things. This is part of the preparation. It's so important. Because down there in the grave, in the loneliness, the darkness of the grave, the person is, how can we help them? Calling out adhan by the graveside chases shaitan away. Because he comes there. And putting those things, like any tabarrukat that you have, any, for example, sand of Medina Sharif, khake shifa, or any other such tabarrukat. It reminds me of Sayyidina Amir Muawiyah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, a great Sahabi of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When he passed away, he had some nail clippings of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that he, in his wasiyah, his will, he said, must be placed on his eyes, on his face, for blessings. So we learned this from Sahaba Ikram, alayhim ridwan. Once the Prophet ﷺ attended a funeral, and then he sat at the side of the grave. He cried so much that the soil became moist with his blessed tears. And then he said, prepare for this. Are we preparing? We prepare for everything else. Everything else we prepare. But for that which is stalking us, we don't know when. Sooner than we realize, we will return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The great scholar, Faqih Abu Layth Samarqandi rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, he says that one who wants to save themselves from loneliness and bewilderment in the grave should avoid 4 things. And the 4 things that one must avoid is lying, breach of trust, gossiping, avoiding the drops of urine. Be careful of that. One should develop their taqwa, their spirituality, their fear of Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allama Jalaluddin Suyuti Ash-Shafi'i rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi says that when a person enters the grave, all the things that he was afraid of in this dunya, whilst not fearing Allah Azza wa Jal, will appear in the grave to scare him. In this beautiful environment of Dawud Islami, we are taught, every night recite Surah Mulk. This is a preparation for the grave. The one who is habitual with that will be protected against the adab, the punishment of the grave. And the one who recites Surah Kafirun, as mentioned by Ala Hazrat Imam Ahmad Raza Khan rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, when going to sleep, that should be the absolute last thing that one recites, and thereafter not talk to anybody. By being habitual with that, inshallah ta'ala, the person will pass away with Iman. Please go ahead with the next call. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam.
My question is, there is an indifferent colleague at work. They keep putting obstacle in my path. Kindly advise me. Jazakallahu khairan kathira.
According to what I understood, there's an indifferent colleague at work and they keep putting obstacles in the pathway of the individual. So this you'll find in many places. Bullying is not just restricted to the schools or the colleges, but at the workplace as well. In society, you will get people that are bullies, people who want to display a superiority complex. So there are certain things that we can recite and certain things we should do as well. The person who's putting problems and obstacles in your way at work is certainly doing it for a reason, maybe several reasons. And this is what you need to find out. Even if it means confronting the person, but in a very polite manner. Because you need to also pay attention to how you react. You need to firstly stay calm. Get into their shoes. That maybe this person has some misunderstanding about me. Maybe somebody has told this person something negative about me that's not true. Or if it is true, then you'll need to sit and discuss and resolve the matter. Understand their why. Why are they behaving like this? Why are they doing this? This happens quite often actually. In the spiritual cures department, we get many cases. I won't say a lot, but every now and then, this issue comes up. That this person doesn't like me, they hate me, they are overloading me with work, but not my colleagues, and they want me to do their work. So assertiveness needs to be developed. If it's not part of your job description, then you can decline. But where you can go the extra mile, that's fine, go the extra mile. But when it starts affecting the work that you need to do, that's when you need to have a meeting with the individual. It can be your manager, it can be your director, your superior, it could be a fellow colleague that's trying to take their work and put it on you. These possibilities are there. So your first approach should be to try and build bridges using wisdom, but still, whilst you're doing that, you need to maintain your boundaries. And when everything fails, then you eject out of that situation and you get your superior involved. That should be your first recourse to try and resolve the matter with the person. Get the person alone, away from prying eyes. Because lots of gossiping takes place. People want the juicy gossips in order to receive entertainment. And if you did whatever you could to try and rectify the situation and remove the misunderstandings of the individual, or if they had genuine concerns, to address it and to try and resolve it. If you tried everything that you could and still it's continuing, because you cannot work in a toxic environment. You won't even want to come to work. You won't even want to enter the office. Because the moment you see the person, negativity starts flooding into your mind. So it needs to be addressed. Either by yourself firstly, where you assert your boundaries whilst trying to build that bridge with them. If all else fails, then go to your superior to try and resolve the matter. Maybe you have a problem with the superior, or the superior has a problem with you. Just because they are in a superior position, so they are trying to, the work that they are supposed to do, they're trying to halve it and put it on you. Because maybe you need the job. So when he starts to interfere with your performance, with your targets, then you need to address it. Don't have fear. Yes, we're not saying go screaming and shouting and swearing and assaulting. No. In a polite manner, amicably. Because at the end of the day, you do your best and know that your rizq is promised by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If it's not here, it will be somewhere else. One door closes and another opens. All right. So the person who is cruel towards you, who's putting blockages and obstacles, the person that is, you feel in a sense, oppressing you, then recite the following in front of them. Recite Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim 50 times with Salat ala Nabi once before and after. By doing this, that awe and fear of the reciter will develop in the heart of that cruel person. And the reciter will remain protected against their evil. Certainly, jealousy is prevalent in many settings. The workplace is not free from it. In fact, the workplace is one of the main places. How did they get that promotion? Why did they get the promotion? It's supposed to be me. Subhanallah. How come their performance is so well? How come this and how come that and why this and why that? There could be nazar bad as well. Effect of the evil eye. For that you should get an istikhara checking done. You can contact our branches, or if you don't have one close to you, Spiritual Cures branch, then download the app Ruhani Ilaj Online and Istikhara. It's a free download, and you have the option to request for an istikhara checking or for ilaj treatment, and there's many other options available and facilities like different types of du'as to be recited for different occasions, different wadha'if and invocations as well. And one more wazifa. Recite the following 41 times before you engage in conversation with the person, or if you're going for a meeting with them, before you enter their office, or even when you are sitting there before them and they are talking. So at that time you can recite 41 times. Ya Azizu, Ya Azizu, Ya Azizu. Remember, there's an Ain. Ain, the makhraj of it is from the center of the throat. So our pronunciations have to be correct. 41 times Ya Azizu, and then you blow towards the person without them noticing it. Inshallah Azawajal, that individual will become compassionate towards you. Of course, it must be done for something good. And have trust and firm faith in Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Can we please have the next call? Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam.
My name is Muhammad Bilal. I am from Johannesburg. My question is there something from the Quran that I can recite to chase away evil spirits from my home? Jazakallahu khairah.
Ameen wa iyyakum. Well, this is another major problem that many of us are facing, many homes are facing. Subhanallah Azza wa Jal. Yes, there are certain things to recite from the Quran as well, but I'll share several things with you. Something which is very important that perhaps majority of us neglect, and that is when you enter your home, always recite Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, then enter with the right foot. Make a note of this. Before entering the house, recite Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, enter with the right foot, make salam loudly. If nobody is at home, say Assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabiyyu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Recite Suratul Ikhlas, Qul huwallahu ahad, one time. In fact, the benefit of that is the home will be protected against domestic disputes. If there are domestic disputes, it will be removed, inshallah ta'ala, and there will be blessings in the person's rizq, the person's income and sustenance. To get rid of sihr, jadoo, black magic, devils, jinn, shayateen, then recite in the home Salatul Taj, what we call Durud Taj, 11 times. Inshallah ta'ala, this will be very positive. Ayatul Kursi should be recited. This is the verse of the throne from the glorious Quran, Suratul Baqarah. Recite this regularly, especially when you're going to sleep, so that your home is protected and your neighbor's home all around are also protected, and you receive protection against criminal, human and jinn. Recite Suratul Baqarah. Suratul Baqarah, by reciting this, shaitan runs away from that house. Jinn, shaitan. Devils, demons, whatever you want to call it, are actually kafir jinn. They are jinn that are disbelievers, meaning not Muslims. They are what people call devil and demons. Now, and other different types of terms that are used, but they are kafir jinn. So for these to be removed from the house, Suratul Baqarah should be recited. Yes, that's the longest surah of the Quran and will take you some time, but let everybody take a few pages each. If possible, try every day to recite it once, or at least once a week, twice a week, whatever is easy. The following should also be recited: Surah Falaq, Surah Nas. Recite this and do dam, blow on your hands, then wipe your body, your face, your head, arms, wherever you can reach, for protection against devils, against jinn, against jealous ones and evil ones as well. Subhanallah. We must ensure that we are always in a state of purity as much as we can, because the devils, kafir jinn, they are impure. They love impurities. And those who are impure or in a state of impurities, they are attracted to them. Because alcohol is not just haram and strictly prohibited. It's also najis, napak, impure, like urine. And if a person is forcing impurity into their body, they're inviting these evil spirits, jinn, inviting them. So if somebody that you know is into these things, tell them you got to leave it. Otherwise, those things won't leave you alone. And your life is just going to spiral out of control. And you'll regret it. The one who has an evil spirit, a jinn, that's affecting them, should abundantly recite, Ya Allahu, Ya Hayyu, Ya Qayyum, Ya Allahu, Ya Hayyu, Ya Qayyum, Ya Allahu, Ya Hayyu, Ya Qayyum. Inshallah ta'ala, the evil spirit, the jinn, will be removed. May we have the next call. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam.
My question is, how do I get rid of infatuation? Jazakallah.
Ameen wa iyyakum. Infatuation wrecks people's lives, a life wrecker. What is this all about? Many of you will know, some may not know. Infatuation. It's a condition where somebody is driven by intense, unreasonable passion for another person. What they call a crush on another person. Those kind of emotional feelings. Love struck, they say. See, before I mention the wadhaif, the invocations, certain things, if we do, it's going to help us. Inshallah ta'ala. The persons you're looking at, now these emotions, they overcome you. That person is a human being with flaws. Why does a person get trapped in this infatuation? Yes, shaitan, he is there to flame the fire of those passions and those, infatuation and all those evils. So you've got to be careful of that. That you may see a person as being perfect, yet you don't know them. Maybe the person is lonely. Or a person is addicted to romance, novels, soapies, influence of friends. This issue, it throws your priorities, your responsibilities out of order. And in really intense cases, people become stalkers. They become obsessed. They want to control that person. And they go to the extent of even unaliving, taking the person's life, because if I can't have that person, nobody can have that person. So that individual has submitted to the nafs, the desires. Another cause and reason is premarital relationships. This idea of dating and courtship, there's no place for this in Islam. Let me be emphatic about that. But how is it that so many Muslims out there are trapped in this problem, in this great sin? It's immodest, it's immoral, it's un-Islamic, and it's going to lead to many problems in your life, and you're going to become emotionally scarred. The person will end up getting depressed and will survive on tablets. How many cases we get? And a message to parents in particular. Parents who are failing their children and encouraging courtship and dating. Ulama Ikram mention, you are pushing your children towards the fire, and after they fall in, you will fall in after them. Be responsible. This is not allowed in Islam. Period. The only avenue is nikah. That is it. Go and see how many people are dating for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. That is zina. Maybe even if they're not doing the actual act of zina and adultery and fornication, but you're looking at the person, you're talking to the person, you're texting them, you're messaging them, you're going out on dates. What's that? There's no nikah. Who allowed you to do that? Who gave you permission? Be responsible. You're going to be accountable on the Day of Judgment for that. So, avoid things that are associated with that individual. Focus on something else when that person's thoughts come into your mind. Look at the negative aspects of infatuation like anxiety, worry, sleeplessness. Recite Ya Ghaffaru regularly. Recite Ya Khabiru regularly. Ya Afuwu regularly. Inshallah ta'ala, by doing this, that person will be freed from the shackles and the evil desires of the nafs. But with that, also practice upon those Madani pearls as well. That will help us, inshallah ta'ala. We are here for a short period of time. Don't waste it away in all of these evils. And don't justify it. Because there's accountability on the Day of Judgment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. Protect our families. Protect our offspring. Protect the Muslims against all types of trickeries and traps of shaitan. Against all types of criminals, criminal activities, jinn, jadoo, sihr, bandish, nazr, bad, evil ones, sicknesses, viruses, and fitna makers. Ameen. Bijahi khatamin nabiyyin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Until next time, keep watching Madani Channel. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam.
May Allah heal you from whatever pain you are suffering from. May Allah heal you from whatever pain you are suffering from.